Good afternoon and selamat sejahtera. Today my group will be presenting about the Sabah Water Department scandal. Next slide. So this slide shows the group members. Next slide. So I'll be introducing the Water Department scandal. So what was the issue faced by most Sabahans? So in Sabah, they were facing an uneven infrastructure issue where modernized water systems only really benefited urban sectors, while rural communities faced daily struggles and often relied on insufficient temporary water tanks. So what is the Sabah Water Department scandal? The Sabah Water Department scandal, also known as Sabah's Watergate, is one of the largest corruption and money laundering cases in the history of MACC. The scandal exposed how deeply rooted public sector corruption directly crippled critical public infrastructure, leaving citizens to face severe, long-term water crises. Millions of Malaysian ringgits were allocated by the government to resolve this water issue, but instead of using these funds to develop and repair water infrastructure, the officials engaged in money laundering and kept the money for personal gain.
Hi, my name is Hong Yi, and before we get further into this case study, let's take a quick look at the backstory of the case itself. So on the 2nd of May 2023, Sabah experienced a water crisis. This problem was so bad that a lot of citizens couldn't bathe, cook, or even stay hydrated. The Sabah government took immediate action by changing out all the old water pipes, remembering that there's a significant water shortage in many parts of Sabah. It was then discovered that locals around Kinabalu, Tawau, and Sandakan have been facing this issue since October 2022. And in January 2023, however, the situation worsened for the students residing in the area, as they had to survive without a consistent water supply. They resorted to looking for water sources at other facilities, and the problem only worsened to the point where they had to shower and clean themselves in various facilities outside of school. The main causes of the issues included mismanagement, unsustainable water subsidies, and excessive demand from domestic consumers. The situation worsened when it was discovered that the water crisis in Sabah came under investigation by the MACC for probable corruption. The MACC investigation on ex-State Water Department AG Mohd Tahir Mohd Talib was because of a suspicion. The MACC got a warrant to search his office, and after some time, one of the MACC team found 62,500 ringgit kept inside of a bag with Mohd Tahir's name on it. And on the same day, MACC got a warrant to search AG Tahir's place of residence, where they found more money and various valuable belongings throughout his house, all belonging to him. So after discovering the money in AG Tahir's properties, on the 5th of October 2016, Hishamuddin had a warrant to arrest AG Tahir and take him into court for judgment.
My name is Dylan. Now I'm going to present type of offense committed: corruption. So before we start, let's talk about the definition. Corruption is an act of offense committed by a personal or an organization of power that should benefit its outcome for their own good. The incident happened with a siphon funds of 3.3 billion. It was allocated by the federal government for fixing poor water supply infrastructure in Sabah. But Sabah Water Department officials diverted massive sums. Deputy Director Teo Ching Kong packed the cash directly into plastic bag and handed it over to Director Tahir Muhammad Talib to store inside his office safe and personal golf clubs. So all of these allegations were made in accordance with Sections 41A and B of the Anti-Money Laundering and Anti-Terrorism Financing Act of 2001 and Proceed of Unlawful Activities Act of 2001 and respectively. The first 78 charge claimed that Teo had engaged in 78 transfer of ownership totaling 12.7 million in order to acquire the lands in questions. The remaining 68 counts charged Teo with having 5.9 million Malaysia ringgit and 1.9 million in foreign currency in cash, as well as 12.2 million in cash stored at financial institutions. So now let's compare with Indonesia and Malaysia. In Indonesia, Teo would be punished under Undang-Undang Pasal 603, where criminals are expected to go under minimum 2 and maximum 20 years of imprisonment, whereas in Malaysia, such acts are predicted to be punished under MAAC Act 2009 with maximum 20 years of imprisonment and a fine of 10,000 or 5 times the value of the egg.
So move on next, I will explain the offense of money laundering in the Sabah Water Department scandal. Money laundering is the process of concealing or disguising money obtained from illegal activities so that it appears to come from legitimate sources. This is usually done through financial transactions, investments, or property purchase. In this case, former Sabah Water Department Director Haji Muhammad Tahir Muhammad Talib, his wife Fauzia Butte, and former Deputy Director Teo Chee Kong were charged with money laundering. Teo Chee Kong faced a total of 146 money laundering charges. Out of these, 78 charges involved the illegal acquisition of 70 acres of land worth nearly Rm 12 million using money believed to be obtained through unlawful activities. Under Malaysia's Anti-Money Laundering Act 2001, anyone convicted of money laundering can face up to 15 years of imprisonment and a fine at least 5 times the value of the illegal proceeds. This case demonstrates that money laundering is often used to hide profits of corruption. It also highlights the importance of strict law enforcement and accountability to protect public funds and maintain public trust. Thank you.
Hello everyone, I'm ZHUMAHAN and my part is the types of the offense convicted punishment. First of all, let's talk about what activity happened to Teo in this report. He faced 146 money laundering charges worth 32.93 million ringgit, and in 2022, the court made him pay 30 million ringgit. Later, his case was discharged after he gave up the assets, meaning he didn't go to trial and walked free. For the second part, let's talk about what does the law say about this situation. In Malaysia, corruption can land you up to 20 years in jail and fine of either 10,000 ringgit or 5 times of the bribe amount. Money laundering carries up to 15 years and a fine of 5 million ringgit or 5 times of the illegal money. But at this case shows, so penalties don't always mean jail. Settlements and discharges are also possible. Thank you.
Hi, now I'm going to talk about the impact of the Sabah water corruption case on the individual involved. First of all, the case had a significant financial impact as Teo Chee Kong's assets and bank accounts were restricted, and he lost control over some company transactions. Secondly, it had legal consequences, as he was charged with 146 money laundering offences and had to undergo court proceedings. Thirdly, the case caused a reputational impact, damaging his public image and professional credibility due to widespread media attention. Furthermore, it had career impact, affecting his professionality and potentially limiting his future career opportunities. Lastly, the case also had a family impact, as his family members were affected by the investigation and some family-owned assets were also restricted.
Good day everyone, my name is Ui Yunxuan. Now I will be presenting the impact of the Sabah Water Department scandal on organization. So, the Sabah water crisis did not only affect households but also caused significant disruptions to many organizations across the state. Due to the unreliable water supply, many organizations experienced interruption to their daily operation. Essential services became less efficient because they depended on a stable water supply to function normally. One clear example is the Kota Kinabalu International Airport, or KKIA. During the water cuts, airport operations were affected, resulting in a poorer experience for passengers. Food and beverage outlets had to switch to disposable tableware and bottled water in order to continue serving the customers. As a result, the overall quality of service declined and customer satisfaction was negatively affected. This shows that the impact of the water crisis extended beyond residential areas and significantly disrupted the operations of important public organizations. Besides the immediate operational disruptions, the water crisis also created several long-term challenges for organizations. Firstly, it affects the Sabah tourism industry. Since water shortages occurs at major public facilities, visitors could develop a negative first impression of the state. This may reduce the tourist confidence and eventually affect Sabah's tourism industry, which is one of the state's important source of revenue. Secondly, Organizations continue to face infrastructure challenges. More than 60% of Sabah's water is classified as non-revenue water, or NRW, mainly because of aging and leaking pipelines. This means that a large amount of treated water is lost before it even reaches to the consumers. Therefore, continuous investment is needed to repair and replace these aging pipelines so that organizations can operate more efficiently and provide reliable services in the future. To conclude my section, there are 3 key takeaways. First, the water shortages disrupted the daily operations of many public organizations across Sabah. Second, the decline in service quality affected customers' experience and reduced the overall performance of these organizations. And finally, this case highlights that the importance of long-term infrastructure improvements. Investing in reliable water infrastructure is essential to ensure efficient public services and to support the Sabah's tourism sector in the future. That concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. I'm ZHUMAHAN. Today I will present the social impact of the Sabah Water Department corruption scandal. First, the scandal limited people's access to clean water. Second, contaminated water increased the risk of disease such as cholera and hepatitis A. It also created financial and emotional burdens for many families. As a result, the overall quality of life in Sabah was reduced. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Josh. I'm going to talk about impact on social economic. Malaysia's social economic development is vulnerable to both internal and external threats, such as political instability, demographic changes, and economic fluctuation. These challenges can affect the country's overall growth and well-being of its people. One of the biggest threats is corruption. Corruption weakens governance, causes resources to be used inefficiently, and slow down national development. For example, the Sabah water crisis shows how corruption can affect public services. Poor management of water resources reduce water quality and negatively impact the daily lives of the local community. Therefore, addressing corruption is essential to achieve sustainable socio-economic development. Thank you.
I'm Henry. This case shows us the importance of both legal and ethical awareness. Public officials must always act with integrity, honesty, and accountability because they are responsible for managing public resources. At the same time, strict enforcement of anti-corruption laws and continuous ethical education can help prevent corruption. The Sabah Water Department scandal reminds us that when ethics and laws are ignored, society suffers the consequences. That's all for me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Adam, and for personal and professional development, one of the most important qualities is ethical leadership. A good leader should be honest, responsible, and have strong integrity because their action influence the entire organization. When leaders make ethical decisions, they help prevent corruption, build trust, and create a more positive and productive work environment. For example, in the Sabah State Water Department case, the former director misused funds that were supposed to be used for maintaining the water supply. Because of this, many people in Sabah experience water shortages. These examples reminds us that personal integrity and professionalism are not just important for leaders, but for everyone. By acting ethically and responsibly, we can contribute to a more trustworthy and successful organization.
My name is Aaron, and I will be presenting the conclusions. For conclusion, the Sabah Water Department scandal demonstrates how corruption and abuse of power can seriously affect essential public services and the well-being of citizens. Misuse of public funds delayed improvement to water infrastructures, causing economic, social, and health impact across Sabah. This case highlights the importance of integrity, transparency, accountability, and strong enforcement of anti-corruption laws in public institutions. As future professionals and citizens, we must uphold ethical values and reject corruption to ensure public resources are used responsibly for the benefits of society. In conclusion, the Sabah Water Department scandal reminds us that integrity is not just a personal value. It is a foundation of good governance, public trust, and sustainable national development. Thank you.